one play that I kind of want to talk about really in that series is the Franco slide into second. And to me, it looks like Volpe puts the tag on. He kind of reaches and he brings his forearm kind of like across and makes a little bit of contact with Franco. Franco's out. Franco stands up. Like Volpe taps him on the chest and then taps him on the back again, which Franco kind of took a little bit of exception to. And then, in steps Jazz Chisholm to insert his nose into something that doesn't need to be into, and kind of stirs the pot. Bench is clear. I mean, nothing really comes of it, but what did you guys think about that play? Did you think Volpe gave him a little bit of a forearm? Do you think it was a clean play and it was just, a tough play?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think too much of it, like live, to be honest with you.
It seemed pretty innocent. He just went in hard and he tagged him in the chest, and it was no big deal. They definitely had some contact, but it didn't seem like a big deal at the time.
Did you get the sense that Volpe took exception to the slide?
I think I saw Volpe's forearm kind of come across his throwing forearm come across Franco and kind of push him out to the outfield a little bit. And then when he stood up and patted him on the chest, like at first I was like, okay, like I think he's saying like, I'm sorry. But then he gives him like 3 or 4 additional taps on the back. That's like kind of like cocky. Like that's how I took it.
Maybe, yeah, again, you could be right.
But that's also my Yankees bias too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was, Volpe kind of pushing it a little bit, like in a subtle way. But I mean, I didn't think it was ultimately a dirty slide or dirty play. No, but it was just interesting that it got the benches to clear and for Jazz to come all the way from third base to, throw his 2 cents in.
I'm going to stick up for Jazz though for a second. Like I think when you're that guy and you're the energy guy and he was making comments after the Royals tied the series 1-1 being like, yeah, they got lucky and, it's like they just beat you guys today, but like that's him. That's Jazz. Yeah. That's how he's always been. Like he's just sticking up for his teammate. Like I don't even have much of an issue with that either, because I'll be honest, and this is just my thing. If he didn't, I would have been like, well, it kind of delegitimizes all your kind of rah-rah stuff. You're either like a rah-rah guy or you're not a rah-rah guy. You can't get to pick and choose. And to his credit, he didn't, right? He was out on the field and maybe he did take exception to it and he thought, or maybe he saw the reaction from Volpe, and he certainly knows Volpe better than I do. Maybe he sees the reaction and he says, oh, Volpe is taking, something out of it, so I'm going to go stand up for my guy. I don't really have much of an issue with it. I just thought the whole thing was kind of blown up altogether. Like I didn't like watching it live. I was just like, oh, that's a lot about nothing is really kind of what my thought was.
And it was like, so you watch it, Franco goes in, they kind of have the exchange like you mentioned, Nick, like they pop up, Volpe kind of pats him on the chest, pats him on the back, says a couple things, they both kind of nod their head. Franco's walking back to the dugout. All of a sudden you see Franco's head shoot right to the right. And all of a sudden he's jawing with Jazz. And then Garrett Cole's getting into it and he's kind of storming at him. And then the umpire jumped in to kind of like try to settle things out. I think what happened is the fact that kind of Volpe and Franco were good. Plays over. Jazz is chirping, Garrett Cole's chirping, standing up for their guy. Franco says a couple things, and now everybody's walking to the middle of the diamond, and it becomes a much bigger deal than it needed to be because I think it was over. And I think, is Jazz and Garrett standing up for their guy? Yeah, they sure are. But I think Jazz is a way of doing it that pisses people off. He's like Randy Rosarina. He's like all hype, but sometimes the performance isn't there. He's like, you're the ultimate hype man, but he doesn't always back it up. Jazz just has a way. He's got the swagger, and that irritates people sometimes. And I'm sure Jazz said a few things in Jazz's way that probably didn't sit well with Franco, and Garrett Cole's chirping. And I think it just escalated quickly because the Yankees were all right there and Franco's all out there by himself, but it shouldn't have been a big deal. It was a relatively innocent play. It was a hard slide. It was a good tag. They were cool. And then these guys can't help but talk about it, and you end up with a bunch of guys in a circle.
Yeah.
So. My guess, honestly, too, is when the kind of the benches kind of all – my guess is 90% of those guys were looking around being like, wait, what even happened? Like, why are we even out here? Like, who said what to who? Like, I bet you most of them didn't even really know because
Yeah.
I didn't get anything malicious from the slide. Like I didn't. It didn't
No.
look dirty. Certainly wasn't like a Chase Utley kind of thing, right? Like
right.
I thought it was a lot to do about nothing.
Yeah.
I was so bad for the bullpen guys who like have to get up, like they're running out of the gate, like to get involved. Half the time, by the time they get there, it's over. But they got to be part of it. They got to get out there.
I do
and
love
back
how
up
they
their guys.
run
So
side
fun.
by side. Side by side, they run.
They're like
and then they get
friends
there,
on the
and
way
they start-
down, and
yeah.
they veer into each other. It's crazy.
Dude,
Cracks me up every time.
If
I
I was
miss a good
the
hockey fight where like you just fight whoever's closest to you. You can be on other sides of the ice and you're fighting somebody, but not in
Yeah.
baseball. You all got to make a beeline to the pile.
dude, if I was in a bullpen, I would have my guys coming out in like a flying V formation or something. Like